Hi SourceFedNerd Movie Club, it's me Jenny aka ClassyLibrarian, and this week's movie was Trading Places starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. And my quick review for this film is, it's not one of my favourites. It was my first time watching it and I probably won't give it the time to watch it again. There are some things that I really like in this, particularly the comparison of race and social inequality, which is very well addressed throughout this film. The racism in this is quite appalling and is addressed, which is good. And there's a lot of nice social commentary that goes on. It's very in your face though, it's very broad, along with the acting style and the characters. They're very broad and very obvious. The fact that nature versus nurture as an argument is mentioned about 10 times during this film kind of puts everything right on the surface. There isn't really that much subtlety, which I don't mind in itself, but it would have been nice to see something a bit more subtle, particularly after watching The Untouchables, the French film that we watched for the DeFranco Movie Club, where it had basically a lot of the same themes, a lot of the same concepts, but was a lot more subtle and a lot more pretty in a way. There's a lot of things in this that I do like the production value for, and the design, particularly the use of red throughout because it's a Christmas film, and I appreciate the large amounts of boobs in their various shapes and sizes that are sprinkled throughout this film, but I'm not sure whether or not I can appreciate all of that when I've seen a film which is so much more beautiful a couple of months previously. That being said, there's some nice funny points in this. The 2 points that I really laughed out loud were the Eddie Murphy breaking the fourth wall while looking at all the objects, and the sequence on the train where they all come in and do these ridiculously over-the-top characters. And those two sequences genuinely made me laugh. But there's a lot of other stuff that just kind of fell slightly flat for me, and it could be because it's very broad, or it could be just the overall style. And then the only other problem that I had with this film was I didn't really feel like there was much character progression. Again, going back to The Untouchables, in that film there really is, as these characters come together, they develop together, and in this one I felt like Eddie Murphy's character and Dan Aykroyd's character definitely learn different skill sets, but they don't necessarily develop as people. In the end, ironically, their big heist is using corruption against corrupt people, and they end up rich and happy, and that doesn't necessarily build up something of a good moral standing. Although I do like that Coleman got his kind of day, but in the same way he just kind of moved up the social ladder and will be crushing, it's very hard to tell whether or not he will be in a good position of power or will treat his inferiors like he was treated, and that kind of made me a bit sad at the end. That being said, it's a relatively well-constructed plot. It's simple enough that you can follow point A to B. It's got some nice themes that come in and out, as I said, the Christmas themes, and the nature versus nurture themes that are particularly intensified towards the end and are featured in the joke about the gorillas, although that sequence just made me feel kind of uncomfortable, because that would be very, very difficult anatomically, and it just made me feel uncomfortable. But I would maybe recommend watching this once if you're in the mood for something that's slightly goofy. Definitely not my favourite film. I think you would have been in a very, very specific mood to like this, or have watched it previously and enjoyed it. If you're after an Eddie Murphy film, go for it, enjoy it. That's about it. Sorry I've rambled on so long, and I'm sorry it wasn't my usual perky I loved it movie, because I didn't love this film. It was okay, but it wasn't great for me personally. And that's about it. I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.